I think that you ought to have a couple of these in your arsenal if you're going to be fishing for trout. And like most trout flies, brim, little bass will hit about every trout fly we make. This is a weighted fly, and if you see a nymph, the closest way I can describe it, you know what a little roly-poly bug looks like? You find it under leaves and stuff. This is very similar to a roly-poly bug, only you find it in streams and creeks, and they are going to be crawling all over rocks. There's another little bug that is very similar called a sow bug. I would recommend that you just watch the first one, and then I'll tie another one if we want to do a step-by-step. The size 12 scud is not going to catch as many trout as a size 14 or 16 or even an 18. Most of them are going to be pretty small, so I would encourage you to try and tie one of the 14s. Get past that, oh, it's so small I can't see it phobia. They are not that much harder to tie. In fact, I think they're a little bit easier because you don't have to use nearly as much material. I think I'm ready to start. I'm going to take some 20/100ths. I'm tying this on a size 12. I'm going to take some 20/100ths lead, and I'm going to attach that. Remember, pinch it from the back and from the thumb on your vise. Will squeeze that. I'm going to take my thread, and I got to get this attached so it's not going to be slipping around. So I'm going to go behind, make sure my thread is attached, and I'm going to go through the wraps. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to go to a little bit behind the eye, then I'm going to come back, and I want to build that thread up so that it's pretty close to the level of the lead wraps. Then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to do the same thing at the back end of my lead. I'm going to build that thread up a little bit. Okay, and I find it easier to go back up to the near the eye of the hook. Then I'm going to take what's left of this little 20/100ths lead, and I'm going to try and cut that at a real, where's the camera? I'm going to try and cut that at a real narrow angle. See how I've got that? It's not an abrupt, it's a real narrow angle. And I'm going to put that, the small end of that angle cut, I'm going to put it closer to my eye. I'm going to try and get it attached right on top of the double rounds. And I'm going to go back, and I'm going to try and get that point, that narrow point that I cut. I'm going to try to get that buried. And then I'm going to go back to the bend, and I'm going to try and do the same thing on the back. I'm going to try and cut that at a pretty extreme angle there. Okay? Then I'm going to take my thread, and I'm going to make sure I have that piece that I put on top. I want to make sure I have it attached so it's not going to move around on me. And that just gives that lead a little bit of an elevation. And what you've got up here that we passed out is just 4-pound P-line.
Are they heavy duty ones?
It's heavy, much heavier. Yeah. And it looks pretty good on a size 12. I'm going to lay that, and I'm going to try and get that attached good. You want to make sure it's attached good, because when you start wrapping that, when we're the last step of the fly, you don't want it to pull out. Okay? And I'm just going to get that out of the way. And I'm going to try and cut that, maybe about 1/8 of an inch. This is the hardest part, getting that strip cut And if you get it started, you can often just pull it. It pulls kind of straight, and I'm going to end up with a piece that's much narrower. Mine did not pull straight, so when I tie this on, I'm going to cut off the smallest part so I end up with about the width that I want. Okay? And I'm going to lay this, it's got to be on top of the hook. I'm doing it the wrong way, excuse me. I'm going to lay this on the top of the hook with just the edge, and then I'm going to try, and I think I've got that pretty well buried. All right, now I hope you brought some dubbing wax. It doesn't take a lot of dubbing. I'm just going to put some dubbing wax on here. I only need probably 3 or 4 inches. And you guys are going to probably will have the same problem you've had in the past using way too much dubbing. You only need just a smidgen. And you can see I just got a little wad here. I probably will not use even that much. I'm going to try to pull that out until I can get the smallest amount of it that's still sticking together. I'm going to start off with this, and I'm going to twist that counterclockwise. If you wet your fingertips, that sometimes gives you a little advantage. And wrap forward. If it starts to loosen up on you, just tighten it up again a little bit, twist it up a little bit more. And I have got more than I need, so I'm going to just pull what I didn't need off. And I'm going to half hitch right behind the eye.
Not covering the eye.
And not covering the eye. Then I'm going to get my thread out of the, well, I don't need it out. Now the next step is to take your raffia and you want to pull that over the top. And as you'll probably have a little bit of a problem with it wanting to go to one side or the other. Do not fret if it kind of goes to one side or the other, because at this stage of the game, it's still fairly adjustable. Okay? And I've got that spread over, and it's pretty even on both sides. I could have had mine a little bit wider. Then I'm going to trim this piece off up by the eye, because I don't need that. Now I'm going to half hitch this a couple times. Notice I still got some space behind the eye. I'm going to get my thread out of the way. Then I'm going to grab my mono. And I'm going to try and make some wraps on top of that raffia so that the end pattern makes it look like a segmented scud, and scuds are segmented. Try to get the spacing as even as I can. So I get up to the eye, then I'm going to have to tie that off. 1, twice, 3 times. I'm going to go a time or 2 in front. I'm going to back behind. And then I can get rid of my mono. And you notice I've got enough mono here that I could probably tie at least 1 more, maybe 2 more flies. Now I'm going to form my little orange head, and I'm going to whip finish that off. Come on, Roland. Pull that tight, and you don't take this out of your vise yet. I'm going to trim my thread. And now you're going to take your dubbing tool. Take your dubbing tool, and I'm going to pick that dubbing out a little bit. This, I think I've talked about this before. This is a dentist's root canal bit. And you can tell, I'll show you, it pulls that stuff out like nothing else. It's got super, super fine little barbs on it, and it just grabs that stuff really. See how that dubbing has flared out? That's what gives the leggy appearance. And when you're satisfied with your legs, pull that sucker out and